Okay, so for those that are watching the recording, I just asked everybody, what was your very first job that you've ever had? We've had some babysitters, some servers, registering campers at a park, at the state park, paperboy. James, did you have a bike? Rollerblades, digging it. I bet you look super cool doing it. Okay, so we are recording now. Okay, so one of the first things, I just want to introduce myself for those of you who haven't met yet. My name is Jorge Lopez, and I work in the Career Center. And this is Rose Hyatt. She's in TRIO Student Support Services. I will probably just say TRIO SSS moving forward. And so we wanted to put this together today to showcase how we've collaborated over this past year to really engage students online spaces that I think that can translate really well moving forward. And so here, communities matter, and belonging is a very important part of being a community member. And so the sense of belonging is what keeps people around long term. And so 4 important things for a community to be successful. 1, to be authentic. 2, it's got to be useful. 3, it's got to be sustainable, right? That it's going to continue showing up over time. And then 4, it has to be profitable. And that profitable does not necessarily mean money, right? It could be a healthier lifestyle. Feeling, whether that's, mental, social, physical, etc. And then we wanted to also build something, create something that builds momentum. And Rose, if you can go to the second one. Yep. And so we started looking at the retention rates of our freshmen. And so many are considering the return on investment of a degree, especially since the average student debt is $30,000 for an undergraduate degree, and it could be up to $55,000 to $80,000 for a graduate school as well. And so we compared our freshman rates to our peer institutions. Sorry, I'm letting some folks in. Go ahead, Rose.
I'll do that while you're talking.
Okay. And so Purdue Northwest was actually number 10 out of 11. And so obviously not great, but we know that creates a lot of room for improvement. And so that's where the Career Center and TRIO SSS wanted to step up and do our part as a piece of the puzzle in order to increase these freshman retention rates. And so we know that by prioritizing getting students involved and through high impact practices, we know that this will create a positive impact on our community rather than just focusing on getting students in the door. And so ideally, we'd like to get to a place where we are prioritizing skills over degrees, right? Like this value proposition in showcasing that by attending Purdue Northwest, students are going to be able to think critically, explore their interests, right? Fail, make mistakes, learn from it. And that, it's not just about a piece of paper or certificates. It's about gaining some real world experience so that we don't have seniors that come to our offices, go to you all, as faculty and staff and say, I don't have a job yet. I'm about to graduate in a month. By that time, a lot of times it's late in the game. It's late in the game. And so we wanted to make sure that we were providing avenues so that students can engage with the actual Purdue Northwest community through these co-curricular and high impact practices so that it leads to a higher sense of belonging and that they're actually tying what they're learning in the classroom to real world skills. Okay. And so what we did is we made sure to ground everything that we've done in actual research. And so there's a common theme between the 4 of these models that we based it off of and theories that we used. With Aston's student involvement theory, Tinto's theory on student retention, Ku's high impact practices, and the culturally engaging campus environments. And so between all 4 of these, there's this common theme. is that the more students get involved in extracurricular activities, in high impact practices, there's a positively correlated with retention and academics due to this higher sense of belonging. And so in the Career Center, that's part of our mission, is to make sure that we can get students involved to clarify their career trajectory, and tie them closer to the university so that it increases their persistence. And very similar with TRIO SSS is that, they really promise that these students, by engaging with TRIO SSS, they're going to complete their bachelor's degree. And so we wanted to cultivate this experience that ties them to the university. And so let's go ahead and give you kind of the origin story. So in late 2019, I started here at Purdue Northwest, and I just didn't see a lot of folks that were coming to our offices that I know needed more support, and nor did I see enough of the folks that were representative of the populations that we serve. And at the same time, Catalina, who's now the director of EOP, had approached us about getting career development embedded into the TRIO SSS. And so they needed to hit certain goals to attain their $1.7 million grant from the DOE, which they ended up getting. And so we'd also struggled, just like a lot of other faculty and staff outside of their classrooms, whenever they're hosting workshops or ways to engage students. It was hard. It was hard to get students to actually attend. We serve not very traditional students, and they have very busy lives. Like, they're not here all the time. And so we put a bunch of our content and put it into an interactive experience that was newly introduced into Brightspace. And so shout out to Katie and the OIT team. But as a former math teacher, I wanted to make sure that we were actually assessing learning and making learning more engaging than just your typical death by PowerPoint. And so we developed a scaffolded badging program that helps students walk them from, I have no idea what I want to do for the rest of my life, or I have no idea where to start, to, yes, I've got this. I feel confident going into conversations with employers, starting my job search, and even negotiating so I can, secure a bag. And so at the end, we want students to be able to articulate what they've learned in your classrooms to employers, and how this is going to translate well into their professional journey. And so Rose is going to kind of walk us through what our collaborative Brightspace course actually looks like.
So we are at TRIO are just so very appreciative of all that the Career Center did to start this out. They've got some excellent content. One of the areas that we work with our students on is career services. So this is just our landing page. So we started with their content, and that was the start of this whole Brightspace. They had these 4 modules, which were the career foundations area, the career practice area, the careers in action, and the career readiness. And that's what we started with. And as I was taking students in and showing them that area, it was kind of one of those aha moments that we should have a landing page for our TRIO students where we can add a lot more content and kind of take students in there to help them access the resources that we need. So I want to start off showing you. So we actually expanded upon what the Career Center started with and added a lot more content. But I want to kind of give you a highlight of the areas that are in here and how I work with students in this particular way. So the first section of the Career Center's information is the careers and foundations. They have excellent information in here. There's a really, really nice section on creating a resume and a cover letter. I'm frequently taking students in here. And underneath this crafting your resume section, there is all kinds of information. So there's information on how do you get your heading going and samples, objective statements, the education section, the experience section. I really love taking students into this accomplishment statements. And what you can see here is it helps students really identify what they did in their former positions. So the example here is that the students are supposed to use a skill verb then what they did, and then pick one of the following, either why they did it, how they did it, or what the result was. And so there's some examples of you don't do it this way, but rather do it this way. And it's just an excellent, excellent section. So that's one of the areas that I take to highlight with students. I also, in the careers in practice badge, there's a lovely section on what's a career fair and why should I even attend one. So when I take students in here, I'm having them look at how to prepare for a career fair, the things that they need to do. So this before the career fair, how to create their 30-second elevator pitch, how to research the employers, what to wear, items to bring with them. So it's really detailed, really nice, a great section. I also take students in here to the internship section as well. So there's a what's an internship? How do I find one? The importance of it. I'm often bringing students in this search for an internship area. So in this particular area, students can see really easily, talk to people, let other people know that you're looking for an internship. Career fairs is a great way to scout out businesses and talk with people. Job boards, including PNW's Career Center. They can look for internships on Handshake, LinkedIn. There's also this Indiana Internet site where they can look for internships within the state of Indiana. So I take students in here and I talk to them about where to search for an internship as well. Their third little badging area is the Careers in Action badge. And in this particular section, there's excellent information on creating their LinkedIn profile. In interviews, this is a nice area that I've take students into. I've landed the interview. Now what? So that's actually a presentation. I don't want to go there. But oops, sorry. But there's also this. There's this whole nice section on interviewing, preparing for the interview, doing their research. There's a nice section on behavioral-based interviewing. So I talk to students about, now employers at interviews ask, tell me about a time when you had conflict at work and how you handled it, things of that nature. There's the STAR method response quiz on how they can answer those types of behavioral-based questions. So all of that I go through with students. And then there's this career readiness area as well. And that particular section has things like, how do you negotiate an offer? And so I spend a lot of time with my students in this career center area. Some of the content that we then added in is one of the things that was very important to me is I want students to know when they're struggling in a class, where do they go for help? So I have this whole section for our TRIO students. At TRIO, we do offer tutor.com, which is a 24/7 online tutoring for our students. So this link will take them right to that site where they can access tutoring. I also have PNW's tutoring that's offered there. They can see the courses that have tutoring, and this will take them right to a link where they can schedule. I tell students about supplemental instruction. So I explain it to them. I often point out that it's a lifesaver for a lot of students. And then they can also schedule a session right there. I also have links to the PNW Writing Center, talk about things that they'll help with. And then I also added an article on avoiding plagiarism. So a nice little article on how to avoid plagiarism. Another area that I added was contact information for numbers that our TRIO students might frequently need to access. So I started out with our TRIO staff right here. Students can actually schedule an appointment directly using calendly.com with us. If you don't use calendly.com, I love it. It eliminates a lot of the, are you available Friday at 2 emails? No, but how about Monday at 3? They can see where I'm available on my calendar and schedule appointments right with me. So I love that. The Dean of Students Office. So whenever I do my intakes with students, I talk to them about the services that the Dean of Students provides. And so there's contact information there. Of course, we have contact information for the Career Center, so our students need to utilize them. The PNW counseling students. So the nice thing is when I go through our Trio Brightspace with students, I'm kind of talking with them through all of these services. So I point out that PNW does offer free and confidential mental health services to our students and how they can access that. Our students often have lots of questions about financial aid. If I drop this course, is it going to affect my financial aid? So there's links to financial aid and then also to the Disability Access Center in that section. So that section is just on contact information that they might need. Our next section is a section on just getting involved. Research shows that students who are more involved on campus tend to do better and it helps our retention. So I have a link to the PNW student organizations. And when I talk to students about those, I point out that PNW has sororities, fraternities, that they have clubs based on student interests, that they also have clubs based on their professional interests, so that align with their major. So there's a nursing club or there's a women in business club and things of that sort. I also talk to them about why they might want to join that club. It's a nice way to network with upperclassmen who've already had that class or that professor, and they can tell you things like, how do you survive this class? Or things like that. And also just networking professionally and things of that sort. So we talk about that as well. Our next section is a section on grad school resources. So we've got some content in here. We have a link to the TRIO McNair program where students can actually get more support if they're interested in going on to grad school. But we just have some basic information in here as well. Tips on getting into med school, 1,000 programs that fund master's and PhD programs fully. There's a grad school application timeline so students can anticipate when they need to do what. And then also a section on if you need help with your personal statements, here's where you can go. We also teach financial literacy to our students. So often I'm teaching things like what 5 things go into making up your credit score, or how do you do a zero-based budget? So here are some resources that I've used with my students there. We also have recorded workshops that we've had in the past. So like the Career Center did a workshop for us on how to find an internship in tips on interviewing. So we recognize that some of our students are working or have classes when we offer our workshops. So this is a place that students can come and listen to the workshops if they were unable to attend as we're having them. We also have links to scholarships. So I have some nursing scholarships that students can access. We'll be expanding upon this section as well. And then we just last Tuesday had our student orientation for our new TRIO students. So this is the information that we shared with our students that day. There was a lot. So that's just kind of a quick overview of our TRIO Brightspace. And now I'm going to turn it back over to Jorge, and he's going to tell you, so when students complete like some of the Career Center modules, they have opportunities to earn badges. So he is going to talk about that with you.
So while she's bringing it back up, just to kind of reiterate, based on the culturally engaging campus environments model that grounded in research, part that we talked about earlier, we are being proactive. When students have faculty and staff that are proactive in providing resources, links that are, making a lot easier for students, it increases their motivation, their willingness to engage on campus. And so it's just having a lot of positive impact. And so instead of having students having to hunt every single place, imagine having to go to the financial aid office, then find scholarships, then find tutoring, right? Then find Career Center help. So instead of having to walk or make all these calls and it being exhausting, they have opportunities within a single space to ask those types of questions, get that type of help. And we don't need to be experts. Like I am not an expert in everything PNW. but I can at least help point them in the right direction. Anyway, so I asked you earlier what types of jobs that you all have had. So if you could put in the chat, I'd love to know, like, if you're a paper boy, what skills did you learn then that you still use now? Or if you were a server, right, like what types of skills did you learn that you're still using to this day? Counting money, what else? So I told you I was a soccer referee. One of the skills that I learned was how to communicate effectively, how to make decisions in 10 situations. Like I was 16, 17 years old getting cussed out by coaches. So having to deal with situations like that can be very intense. I've had very similar situations in the classroom. Or, in front of a student that's currently just struggling. They've applied to 100, 200 jobs and don't understand why nobody's reaching back out to them. So helping make decisions. Okay, so we see showing up, interacting with difficult clients, explaining the rules, communicating with kids in discipline, data entry, customer service, handling unhappy. Yep, exactly. And so as adults, as professionals, we know how, the skills that we learned way back when that have correlated to now. Our students aren't necessarily able to articulate that when I'm meeting with them. Like they say that, oh, I worked at McDonald's. I shouldn't put that on my resume. Or, oh, I worked at Macy's. I shouldn't put that on my resume. Absolutely, you should put that on your resume because there are critical skills that you developed when you were in those positions that you still use to this day. And so we help students translate what they actually learned and put that on paper, on resume, and articulate that when it comes to an interview. So I say all that because our students are in our Brightspace courses. They're doing these modules, right? And that's, kind of passive. So we wanted to go from passive learning to very active learning. So conducting an informational interview. So they found out, what's the expectation. Now we want them to actually go into the field, be the interviewer, asking a professional in the field what it would be like to work, in that field. What does a day-to-day look like? What are some responsibilities? What is some advice that you might have as I begin my job search, right? So now they're creating allies in their job search. After they've done this, you see the deliverables here. It says a 250-word reflection. So not only are they doing something by conducting this informational interview, now they need to reflect on it. And so now they need to internalize and think critically about how that experience has impacted their trajectory moving forward. Okay. And so again, our whole idea for creating this Brightspace badging system is that they're taking ownership of their own learning. And so there were three things that we wanted to highlight. One, we wanted to track and assess the student progress. Two, we wanted students to be able to showcase their value to employers. And then three, really encourage skill development. And so we're actually going to hear from some students that have gone through this course. They wanted to be here with you all today.
Miss Rose, like I already gave up on my search already. Like, let me show you these resources, and then she showed me the career center on Brightspace, and then we went through the resources there about the resume search, about the job search, and then we went on my LinkedIn. She helped me in my resume. She went through everything with me. And then she started telling me about even the handshake website and all of the stuff for me to respond to my messages on there and apply to the jobs that are on there. And that's how I got this one.
Rose, who's on the call as well. She is my trio advisor. I wasn't sure of all of the resources that were out there, and she was really able to point me in the direction of some really great ones.
Like, I was so confident when I went to my interview because of what I learned on the Brightspace website,
And they also have resources on both of those, LinkedIn as well as Handshake, of how to interview. I know that, I'm not sure if it's on Trio or the Career Center, but they have videos that show you like mock interviews that you could set up, all types of things. So those were all great resources that I was able to utilize when looking for my internship.
I always see the Career Center option with the list of classes. If I actually added that to my actual regular, weekly study, like actually go on there and, do some work on my resume and the job search, getting an internship would actually come earlier, like way before now, instead of giving up and then waiting for somebody to come push me, I could have gotten that all along.
It's a little bit easier this go around because I was the traditional student the first time around, besides the fact that I had a toddler. But I was the same way. I was like, oh, these people don't know what they're talking about. But you guys really are trying to help. And everything you say normally does point you in the right direction if you know what you want to do. Even if you don't, they can help you narrow it down so that you can figure out what it is you want to do. So that's actually another thing that probably would have saved me a lot of time, is if I would have listened to the adults who were in my corner.
And so, Rose, let me ask you, if you could just tell me about your confidence level in addressing students' career-related concerns prior to us working together so closely, and how that's changed since our collaboration.
Hang on one second. So for me, the information in the Career Center was really helpful as a professional. So of course, I need to work with students on their career development and that. And so I actually went in and read a lot of the information on the Career Center site myself. And, I had the basic skills of, reviewing resumes and things of that sort. I've written quite a few in my life, but I always tell the students I'm good, but the Career Center is excellent. So like when I review a student resume or something like that, I still refer them on to the Career Center for a second look. But a lot of the information on just how to find internships and the information on career fairs and stuff, that's good for me as a professional just to know in order to be able to help my students. And the information on the Career Center badging program, the 4 modules there, is so good and it's so detailed that I would just encourage all of you to spend some time in it and just really educate yourself, because you'll be better able to help your students as well.
And so Connie asked a great question about getting access to this course. Absolutely. You can absolutely have access, and you can pick and choose as well. So Rose, if you can click that video, Connie, this will answer some of your questions as well.
Hello, faculty and staff. So we just in the Career Center wanted to introduce you to a gold mine of resources that your students and even yourselves may not be taking part of. And in the students' Brightspace courses, non-academic, they will see one of these online career centers. So in here, we have a vast array of modules that students can partake in. And these are done on their own time and really allows them to engage with the material, ranging from the resume and cover letter, some career exploration to, practicing an interview, attending a career fair, and even negotiating after they've already accepted an offer, negotiating that offer, and understanding what is included in a benefit package. And so ideally, we want students to be working on their career development every single semester. We are trying to avoid the senior that comes to us a month before graduation and says, I need you to look at my resume. I need to find a job in a month. Ideally, they're working on their job search literally every single semester. And what that means is they are doing internships. They are getting involved on campus in student organizations. They are showcasing their leadership skills in lots of different areas of their life. That way, when it comes to time to actually start job searching, they have a lot more behind what they're telling employers that they have. For example, the skills that they've developed, what they've learned in your classrooms. What we can do for you is have some of this content, and let me show you what that looks like. Have some of this content embedded in your courses. So if you want students to, start preparing for interviews, we can get these modules embedded in your Brightspace course. So we can just copy this over with OIT's help. And so they're looking at before the interview, during the interview, after the interview, even kind of a virtual interview guide. And so we can personalize content for your needs, for your industry, your specific field. That way we help students feel a lot more confident preparing for the job search, the internship search, etc. Please let us know in the Career Center how we can help be an advocate for you and help students in their career development.
And so Zach asked the question earlier about customizing and personalizing our Brightspace content for your specific department. And yep, we can absolutely do that. We are doing that for some of the nursing program now. And we're creating content that is specific to nursing students. And so if you had a request for resume module, for example, we can absolutely make that happen specific for your department. And so Rose is going to talk about kind of what our next steps look like.
Okay, so some of our next steps as we're thinking through this is we want to evaluate our data and look at what information students are actually utilizing and where we need to add more content to improve our delivery. We also want to create opportunities to interact with each other. So create opportunities for our students to interact with each other if they can. So in Brightspace, they can see the class list. In some of their courses, they could look for study buddies or things of that sort. There's also a lot of opportunity to recruit more faculty and staff to include some of the modules that we've had into their syllabus or into their programs. For example, a lot of engineering students use Chegg Study, or the nursing students use Nurse Nancy videos or things of that sort. So rather than faculty looking at their resume or their Brightspace course as just the outline for that course, they can think about other opportunities that they can share with their students, such as links to the community and how students could engage with volunteer opportunities or possible internships or professional organizations within their community. That would be, really helpful information for professors to add to their own Brightspace courses. We also would like to break down some of the silos. We all have the same goal, which is student success. So if we can share some of our resources or like some of the areas that a Brightspace course could be utilized by, athletics, or we could add content on the 21st century program and how students could meet the criteria to keep their scholarship in good standing, things of that sort. Financial aid, this would be another area where we could import more data for students or more information for students to access. And then, so just using it to reach more and to collaborate more. Those are our ideas on ways that we can actually improve delivery still.
And so we are very young in our program. Ideally, this badging system is not something that's going to take place in a single semester, in a single year. This is a longitudinal kind of program where students are going to begin their freshman year, maybe sophomore year, and be working on this badging system throughout until graduation. So they might not have all 3 badges and their certificate until 2 to 4 years in the making. And so we are looking to improve our marketing, like get the word out about this careers, about our Brightspace course, so that we can help impact more student lives positively. And so that's why we're presenting at things like this. We're doing social media campaigns. We'd ideally really like to be in the classroom because that's where our students are. And so if you need us if you'd like to just have a chat for us to see how we can customize content for you, let's absolutely do that. And so we're at kind of our end here and definitely open for questions. And if you need the link for assignments or online career center requests, I'm going to type the link in the chat. And I did record this session. That way we can share this out. We also, if you are interested in getting access to our online career center, just to see it, see what's in there on your own and just play around with it, just shoot me your username. That way I can add you to the course.
And if any of you have questions, feel free to reach out to us. Or if you have suggestions or how we can improve it or information that students could utilize where we could add it, let us know.
All right, I am writing down these usernames now. All right, well, thank you all for coming. We appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, bye all.